Friends School of Environmental Science and Management, where my research broadly focused on community outreach and water quality. I'm really excited to step into this role as Regional Programs Coordinator and make sure that we accomplish our goals as a committee to conserve our resources in the Santa Clara River watershed. So thank you.
Tony Emmert with United Water Conservation District and Fillmore and Pybrook Basin's Groundwater Sustainability Agency.
Marissa Carangella with United Water Conservation District.
Adriana Stovall with Rincon Consultants.
Jody Schweitzer, Water Program Director with the Farm Bureau.
Hannah Garcia Wickstrom, United Water Conservation District.
Evan Lashley, United Water.
Laura Schellenberger, working with RCD on the Ventura Watershed Resilience Plan.
John Demers, I'm the Executive Officer at Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency.
Great, thank you, in-person audience. We're going to move over to Zoom and let's start with Anthony Schmidt. Are you available to unmute yourself?
Yes, hi there. My name's Anthony. I am an intern with Tree People, graduate student going in my second year at a Master's of Social Welfare program at UCLA, and here to just be a part of the audience and learn as much as I can from the meeting.
Emily Wong.
Hi, my name is Emily. I'm with Anthony at Tree People as one of the newest research team interns. I have a background in urban and regional planning, and I'm excited to be working with y'all on this project.
Tom Dudley.
So let's see, there we are. Hi, Tom Dudley, as you said. I'm associated with Marine Science Institute at UC Santa Barbara and run our riparian invasion research lab. But also wanted to update that we are moving along with setting up a CERP program, the statutory exemption for restoration projects. And Rachel, who is also on here, is helping us to lead that process. And the idea is to have an exemption for application throughout the full watershed, the Santa Clara River watershed, that would be for invasive plant removal as well as non-disruptive restoration actions. So that will be quite exciting to finally get moving along. So.
Thanks, Tom. Let's move to Rachel.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Ray. I'm with the Ventura County RCD. And like Tom said, working on the SERP with him and other partners in the watershed. So excited to have that moving forward. And we'll provide updates as we kind of move through that process.
Nancy Settle.
Good. I couldn't get unmuted. If you can hear me, my name is Nancy Settle. I'm filling in for Sean Kelly with the Santa Clara River Conservancy. I'm on that board, and Sean is presently in Indonesia. But I'm happy to be here and find out more about the mapping project. And just to share a little information with you, the Santa Clara River Conservancy has restored about 800 acres of land in the Santa Clara River.
Great. Thank you for being here, Nancy. George Nagels.
Hi, this is George from Balance to Thrive. My company improves quality of life for people and native species, and we appreciate this opportunity to advocate for the native species of the Santa Clara River. Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda Begley.
Good morning, everyone. Amanda from Tree People, Associate Director of Watershed Health. We're excited to present to you all today. Thank you for having us.
Holly Wright.
Hello, sorry. Hi, I'm Holly. I'm with Channel Islands Restoration and also support Friends of the Clara River meeting. So I can report back to those guys if they're not here. Update, Channel Islands Restoration. We're supporting the Nature Conservancy every third Sunday at a volunteer day. So it's beautiful out here at the River Preserve. So coming out 9 to 12, third Sunday of the
Igor Bronze.
Hi, everyone. Igor Bronze, Senior Manager in the research team at Tree People. I'm excited to present. It's a pleasure to meet all of you.
Kyle Sipes.
Hey everyone, my name's Kyle Sipes. I'm a professional water resource engineer with Applied River Sciences, and I'm just someone that grew up on the Santa Clara River, and it's really close to my heart. So I sit in on these meetings just to see what's going on with the river.
Alec Thill.
Hello, I'm Alec Thill with the, Ventura County Department of Agriculture Weights and Measures, here to keep abreast of water issues.
Helen McGrath.
And the number of the pumpers and Ag Mutual and on the Ventura County Farm Bureau.
Rick Vasilopoulos.
Morning, everyone. Rick Vasilopoulos, Senior Water Resources Planner at Santa Clarita Valley Water Agency.
Hannah Searless.
Hello, my name's Hannah. I'm on the research team at Tree People.
Elizabeth Burns.
Hi, this is Elizabeth here. I'm from CalTrout. I'm the chair of the Southern Steelhead Coalition. We do have a little general update in the chat if you're interested. We just put out the RSVP forms and the speaker forms for our second annual Southern Steelhead Symposium. It is a free event where we're talking only steelhead, nothing else. Steelhead is the star of the show, and that's all you're gonna get. Last year we had over 82 people show up for a mini symposium, so we do it again. There will be lunch provided. It's going to be a taco bar provided generously by TNC. And if you're interested in attending, it's free. It's going to be on September 15th from 9:30 to 5. The last hour will be a poster session. So if you have a poster lying around that you'd like to present on, drop in an application. This link will take you to the splash page for the Southern Steelhead Symposium this year with a flyer, RSVP form for attendance, and a presenter and tabling applications. Yeah. So if you don't have a lot to present, but you would like to table, feel free to table. We ask that all talks are steelhead centric or relate back, like directly back to steelhead. So you have a restoration project that improves steelhead habitat, great. If you're doing a ecosystem science project or an ecosystem research project and steelhead is on the the species list, great. But yeah, hope to see you September 15th. Again, free. Come check it out. And then if you also not really sure what this is about, I have an archive on our website of the 2025 symposium. The whole 4 hours that are edited nicely together. Don't have to watch it all in one sitting. I also made chapters so you can go and see specific talks that you would like. And one last thing, if you're a speaker, these talks are going to be about 10 to 12 minutes, like a standard conference talk. So we're all going for standard sort of conference talk. So if you're like not sure what you would give, that's what it is. Thank you for letting me take extra time, Laura. Yeah.
Of course, Elizabeth, thank you. I did go to the Southern Steelhead Symposium last year and it was great. Bruce
Thanks.
Orr.
There we go. Hi, I'm representing Stillwater Sciences and the Western Foundation of Vertebrate Zoology. So Stillwater's been working on the river for over 20 years now, starting with work we did for the Coastal Conservancy on the Santa Clara River Parkway. And we've been working with a lot of you in this meeting here today. And then for the Western Foundation, I just wanted to mention we're celebrating our 60th anniversary. There'll be an open house at the museum in Camarillo on Saturday, July 11th. And then it sounds like there'll be a outdoor annual dinner celebration in late August. So if anyone's interested in that, just contact me and I'll give you more information. Thanks.
Thanks, Bruce. Peter Schellenbarger.
Good morning. My name is Peter Schellenbarger. I'm with the City of Ventura Public Works. I run several environmental and compliance programs within Public Works, all related around water quality and hazardous waste. Happy to be here. Just a little update. There's a beach cleanup on June 27th at Ventura Promenade, C Street, and Marina Park. If you're interested in joining, there's more information on the city's website.
Thank you, Sarah Mulder.
Good morning. I'm Sarah Mulder. I also am with the City of Ventura within the Ventura Water Department, and I manage water resources for the city. And I'm actually en route to the meeting in person, so I'll see you soon.
Great. See you soon. Melanie Morgan.
I'm Melanie Morgan with Ventura County Ag Weights and Measures.
Bert Handy.
Hello, Bert Handy. I'm a resident that is interested in water.
Thank you. Lisa Tate.
Hi, I'm Lisa. I'm a grower in Santa Paula Fillmore, and I'm also the rep possibly for Santa Paula Pumpers.
And Dustin Herman.
Good morning, Dustin Herman. I'm with Tree People and the principal scientist there.
Awesome. Thank you, Dustin. Okay. Thank you for all those introductions and updates. Let's move on to our GSA updates. We can start with Fox Canyon. Are there any updates?
A few updates that don't directly concern the watershed, but might be of interest to folks who are following Fox Canyon and broader. We had our regular monthly board meeting yesterday, and there was quite a bit of work on the agenda for the Las Posas Valley Basin. We are beginning work on what we call the Basin Optimization Plan projects. Again, the Basin Optimization Plan was required in the comprehensive adjudication judgment. So we're beginning work on two of the what we were calling in lieu projects. And they're in lieu because it essentially involves importing water from outside of the basin in lieu of extracting groundwater from inside of the basin. So one of those concerns the large scale project, which is actually reactivating a project that existed back in the 90s and into the 2000s, where two of the larger water purveyors, which would be Callegas and the County Waterworks District and Zone Mutual Water, they formed an agreement whereby Zone and Waterworks District would import water and allow their wells to rest in the central part of Las Posas Valley Basin, where there's actual pumping depression and there's some declining groundwater levels. And because of that, those well elevations kind of drive the criteria for the rest of the basin, right? So if some of our key wells are hitting minimum thresholds, we have a problem basin-wide. The second one is a feasibility study. There's also some significant historic water level declines in the northern part of the eastern management area. So the kind of the northeastern part of the overall basin. There's historic water declines there in excess of 100 feet in some areas. But there's not a clear-cut way to do in lieu like we want to do in the central part. So we're doing a feasibility study. We're awarding a contract to Woodward and Clara engineering to evaluate the feasibility. Where would we source that water? how would we deliver that water, those types of questions. And depending on the results of that, of course, we would take action or not based upon feasibility. We are also looking at starting or continuing our contract with Environmental Science Associates to build it's a proprietary item that they have called the Groundwater Accounting Project, but it is sponsored by DWR, so it's a good tool. And that allows us to use multiple data streams to help us manage our basin a little better and have a little better clarity on actual extractions and use. And the multiple data streams are self-reported meter data, AMI, automatic, advanced metering infrastructure or automated reporting of meter data, and using evapotranspiration data, and using those three data streams to cross-reference between them and cross-check to get a really good indication of exactly how much water is being used and where it's being used. So those are three projects that were all approved by our board yesterday, and we're very excited about that, kicking off again, focused up in Las Posas, not directly tied to this, but perhaps of interest. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony, would you like to go next?
I can give a quick update on the Piru Basin and Fillmore Basin. Sounds like both of those basins are in really good shape currently. We've had a couple wet years and a lot of release plus rainfall. So both basins are quite full, but the GSA's primary activity coming up is doing its first 5-year periodic performance evaluation. So those are self-evaluations based upon things that the GSA said it would do in its two plans. One of the other primary activities is just a lot of work on trying to collect data to close some of the unknowns. So in groundwater dependent ecosystem areas, there was a lack of data. So there's quite a bit of effort there, monitoring shallow groundwater in some areas. So trying to get towards DWR's goal of really understanding the interaction between surface water and groundwater through all reaches of the Santa Clara River over those two basins, and it's quite complex. And then additionally, several modeling scenarios were completed. There's still some modeling to go, but there was a separate Valley Basin module that was brought off and brought up to date. And so several modeling scenarios that were commissioned last year, most of those have been finished. So I think the GSA is going to take a bit of a pause on interpreting the modeling results and focus on trying to get its periodic evaluations done in the next few months and then circle back to modeling results. So thank you.
Great, thank you. And is anyone available to speak on Mound or Santa Paula? Okay. Are there any questions? We can have 1 minute of questions.
If I may, is that okay? Question?
Yeah, there's a question.
Yes. I will be curious on the groundwater accounting because I worked on some projects up in the Central Valley that had a lot of self-reported metering, and it was just hard to be confident that was quality data. So I just wanted to pose the question. I'm curious to hear what is the most cost-effective third-party verification of the metering, and how that will go in terms of data quality objectives from like an EPA Superfund kind of point of view, to ensure that it's not just garbage in, garbage out, and they have the best data possible. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's John Demers from Fox Canyon. I think that was directed towards me. So historically, the agency has relied upon self-reported data, which, the reliability is questionable, but really the timeliness, we're constantly struggling to get people to report on time, to report without errors, and a lot of well-meaning people just don't understand how to read their meter or other challenges, which is why we're trying to move away from that. We're trying to move away to a better AMI system. We do have an AMI mandate. Unfortunately, when it was set up, AMI was not sophisticated. It was definitely inferior to the technology we have now. So a lot of the AMI that was put in place isn't what anybody would call AMI by today's standards. They're devices that take a picture of the meter, and then the picture gets uploaded and somebody reads the numbers on the picture and types those in. That's not AMI by anything that we would call it now, but unfortunately, that's what a lot of people use. So we are looking for, in fact, grant opportunities to essentially purchase better AMI metering infrastructure for our users, and also looking at doing better quality control and quality assurance of the current AMI data that we have. And then we're looking, as I mentioned, at cross-checking that, cross-checking that AMI metering data with ET data, which is readily available now, and the quality of that is improving, the timeliness of that is improving. So if we use, pardon me, we use those multiple data streams, we hope to be able to proof the concept where eventually we can move away from self-reporting and rely simply upon AMI and cross-check with ET and have an accurate picture that way. But that's an excellent comment. I appreciate it. It gives me an opportunity to expand upon that a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to introduce one more person that joined us in person. Would you mind introducing yourself, Candace?
Hi, I'm Candace Minigan. I'm on the board of Friends of the Santa Clara River, as well as Save Open Space and Agricultural Resources here in Ventura County. And I sit on the board of Fillmore Piru Basin GSA. So in May, Friends of the Santa Clara River entered into a settlement agreement with Magic Mountain, and we'll be receiving $2 million over the next 12 months. Some of the projects that will be coming out of that is that Magic Mountain will be supporting Friends' project on Sisar Creek, which is a fish passage restoration project that had a budget shortfall. And so that project's moving forward. And the other project is that Magic Mountain will be helping us do a regional water resiliency analysis for the Santa Clara River watershed. And that's really looking at long-term capital investment as well as legal requirements for compliance from cities, counties, and NGOs. And then looking at the cost-benefit analysis of those interventions to help guide and prioritize actions on the watershed that help us be more resilient. And really localize our water resiliency and get off the reliance of imports with the fact that we get very little imports during drought scenarios moving forward. And then out of that is there will still be funding left over to then help fund and design any projects that come out of that analysis. So that's for Friends. And then for SOAR, SOAR and COSCA and Ventura Land Trust and Friends of the Santa Clara River have initiated a Ventura County Open Space Collaborative. We've met twice. I think the priority of that initiative right now is to get an analysis of what the economics are around the valuing of open space. And right now we're fundraising for $85,000. We've raised about half of that, and we have a foundation interested. But essentially, that's copying what Santa Barbara Land Trust did, looking at what the economic valuation of open space and recreational opportunities are in Santa Barbara County. And so we'd be doing something like that to complement what the Farm Bureau does and the Ag Commissioner does around what the economic inputs are of ag, and so to complement that. And we coming up on a our next quarterly meeting after the summer, and we'll be scoping essentially what's going to be in that economic analysis before we hire the consultant. And then I just wanted to add to Tony's update for Fillmore Pyru Basin, something that was very exciting because as the environmental rep on the GSA, we're very interested in surface water, groundwater interactions and how groundwater pumping is affecting groundwater dependent ecosystems. And so some of the analysis that came out of our most recent work that Evan did with Stillwater is that we actually did pick up eDNA and have visual observations of steelhead in the East Grove near Hedrick Ranch nature area.
That's really exciting. Thank you, Candace. Thank you for joining. Okay, let's move to our presentation by Tree People. Who would like to share your screen? Amanda?
I'm going to get us started, and then I think someone on our research team will share screen so they can get that going. But I just wanted to give a little intro to what this is and provide some context. That's okay?
Yes. For those of you online, just make sure you speak clearly into your computer audio. And
Can you not hear
we should
me?
be good. I can hear you.
Okay, good.
A couple people on your team, it was a little quiet.
Okay,
Thank you.
got it. Thank you. Okay, so thank you for having us today, Amanda from Tree People. And like I said, I just wanted to provide a little context to what this is that we're going to present on. We've been sharing with this group updates for the last year and a half or so on the Bureau of Reclamation funding that we got for the Santa Clara River Watershed Regional Climate Collaborative. So there are two main tasks to this grant. Number one was this watershed group development, and we have been working closely with SCV Water and Eric Stein at SCORP. You may remember, in I think it was February, he presented to this group on an update on what's happening with that group development. We are continuing those efforts. But the second part was this watershed restoration planning, the second task. And that is what Tree People's research team has been working on and is going to share a bit about today. We are hoping this will be a tool that will be useful to all of you and build on the decades of hard work on this topic of invasive species and riparian habitat restoration in the Santa Clara River. So with that, I will turn it over to Tree People's research team to kick us off. Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks, Amanda. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Am I coming through clear?
Yes.
All right, wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen right now. Again, this is Igor Bronze. I'm on the research team, and I'll be presenting a little bit about our progress on the mapping tool and some of the other items that go along with it. So here we go. This project is this component is provisionally called Restoration for All, assessing the feasibility and needs of a watershed-scale restoration study. And the title might tell you that it's not a scientific research paper. And that's because there's already been 20 years of very high quality science done on restoration work. Everybody, a lot of people here have been instrumental, and I see them in the room right now. I see Tom Dudley and Bruce Orr, whose papers we've read extensively to learn a lot about, and not just them, of course, but there's been a lot of research done on the biology, the life cycles, the manner of invasion, the Verundo, tamarisk, tree of heaven, how they impact ecosystems, how best to remove them, where they are in the river channel with a lot of the surveys that have been performed, and how sites should be best prioritized, especially within the lower Santa Clara River watershed. So this is stuff that has been extensively researched, and we do not want to create duplicative efforts. So, and this has gotten us very far to answer some of the questions that we are looking to answer both with the mapping tool and the report that comes along with it. So a lot of the stuff we're looking to respond to is how do we actually scale restoration to the entire watershed. There is, of course, the JPA that is going to be immensely helpful, and that opens up additional funding opportunities that could get this work to the 9-figure scale rather than the 7 or 8-figure scale that it's previously been. But this report is not about funding either. It is about how to lift other obstacles that are in the way of restoration. So how do we engage landowners and communities who are resistant to cooperating with restoration work? How do we quantify the value of restoration work, especially for the agricultural industry, where groundwater usage will become their problem, and so will a lack of pollinators, for example. And how do we use that as, for example, to engage communities and let them know, hey, this is really important work, and it could have some really bad downstream economical consequences if you do nothing. Then we, of course, want to track where current and planned restoration work is occurring. Simply having a list of projects on a map that everybody can access would be extremely helpful. And even more so if we can understand what phases the projects are in. Was it just mowing? Was there mowing and herbicide applied? How many rounds of herbicide were applied? Was there planting done, or just reliance on natural recruitment? Another question is, how do we build a workforce in the region that is capable of seeing this work through for a period of 10 to 20 years without interruption? Because we all know that if there's interruption, there could be a reversal of progress. Why do some areas of the riparian zone resist invasion despite decades of time passing? And also, in the context of a much larger operation, what sort of technological investments are worthwhile to make the work more efficient and more tightly constrained costs? That can vary quite a bit depending on access and biomass handling and so on. So I'm just going to jump into the mapping tool, and then we'll talk about some of the other topics. So this essentially this graphic shows it's basically a placeholder with placeholder data to show what the mapping tool could look like once it's complete. So this is adapted from a site that Tree People worked on. There was surveying done on this property in Valencia, and then there were several rounds of treatment applied. So this is just to show how in the final iteration of this mapping tool, there will be polygons that you can click on, and then you would have a log of what has occurred on that property. So, for example, this is basically just an illustration of what it would look like. This is not yet built out, but essentially here you can see there's a treatment log of when mowing initial herbicide was applied, then retreatment, and 3 rounds of retreatment, and then when replanting was performed with a specific kit of native plant assemblages that would be appropriate for this area. And we believe this work is very important for tracking when projects, for example, could be high risk of at high risk of reinvasion. For example, if the herbicide treatment was not completed in time, and then there was a lapse in funding, or the contractor left, or there were some other issues. So this would also help with prioritization by highlighting areas that have already been treated but not completed. Right. So there are a lot of various opportunities to use this tool to further planning work quite a bit. For example, the final implementation could also include filters, so you'll be able to see in time series, how projects are progressing. As for the map, the colors basically correspond to various treatments that have been performed. So this greenish color would be just mowing and initial herbicide, and then various levels of herbicide treatment correspond to other colors, and then the blue would be the final phase, which would be the replanting, which of course is not always going to be part of the plan, but in this case, it is. And then the polygon around it is the overall survey area, or it's intended to represent that area. So this would function as a ledger of restoration work and let everybody know how it's progressing and what the priorities are and how they should evolve. Another feature within the mapping tool would be essentially tracking the value of the work. So this has effectively a community benefit because it brings the work closer to people, right? I feel like most people who are not into ecology or environmental work or restoration, they have a hard time valuing, for example, specific species of bird or insect that might be lost in the region if, for example, nothing is done and you have a replacement or riparian habitat with an Arundel monoculture, for example, right? It's sometimes hard to convey to communities what the value of specific pollinators are or various species. However, if it's quantified and displayed in a very tangible way, then people would have a much better understanding of it and be much more likely to support this type of work. So, for example, this polygon that's highlighted here, it's 2.2 acres, using a 6 to 8 acre foot per year differential between Arundel versus, let's say, just regular, native riparian habitat. There would be a 6 to 8 acre foot year ground water use differential. So that's displayed here. It's valued at $600 per acre foot, which would be the replacement cost if the water were otherwise sourced from the state water project, right? Because if Arundel uses up all this water and there's pumping limits, it's unlikely that farmers are just going to let their crops go fallow. Most likely, they're going to have to replace that water from the state water project. So that's where this number comes from, and for now it's provisional. But as we continue our analysis, and then some of the other co-benefits could be combined or separated out in the final iteration. The agricultural co-benefit is higher because a lot of the crops in the around the Santa Clara River benefit from wild pollinators. If the wild pollinators are greatly diminished through invasion of Arundel, then they would have to replace wild pollinators with essentially managed honeybee colonies, which are even not as effective as wild pollinators, but that's a different story. But that's why the agricultural value is higher, right? So this is just a preview of some of the features that we intend to build out. But one of the goals is for this to be a living project that functions as a platform rather than just a standalone item. It will be hosted in GIS online, so everybody can access it and view it, and it will be something that other folks can build off of in the future, and that's the intent. The intent is to have this data be publicly available, and folks can ask for data sets as needed to continue this work. So the report will address some of the other issues with some of the other obstacles, I guess, for watershed scale restoration. So, for example, a major obstacle would be community engagement and how do we get people to allow this work to happen, especially landowners, and how do we essentially build a culture of conservation? So some of the issues we've identified would be, a lot of folks just don't know the value of either the value or the risks of restoration. Some folks like Arundel and other invasives because it may function as a windbreak. Other folks are really upset about the use of glyphosate or other herbicides and have inaccurate ideas of their risk potential. Some folks have unpermitted grading work on their property, and they don't want anybody going on there and potentially enforcing various codes on them. So they would rather keep people off the property if possible. Some folks may just distrust the people that do restoration. They feel like there might be an ulterior motive to it, such as property inspections or reassessing tax assessments or something else that is aside from restoration. And other folks might think that if they just hold out long enough, they'll get a payout of some sort. So some ideas on how to engage those folks, given that a lot of the river channel is privately owned, I read somewhere it's more than half, is that it's very important to create a culture where landowners and communities see themselves as partners in restoration, and have brought our culture of conservation in the area. So not as long as there is this adversarial relationship between, oh my God, they're gonna find my unpermitted work and I'm gonna get fined, or they're gonna make me fill in this ditch or something, that's going to stifle efforts. So how to get around these ideas is something we really are focusing on this report, and how to effectively educate communities on why this work is valuable and why they should participate. We don't believe that a watershed scale strategy is possible without first getting the community buy-in, just due to the amount of private property that it contend with. Another issue is efficiency. There's a report by Stillwater Sciences that put the costs of restoration anywhere from $2,000 to $150,000 per acre in 2016 dollars, which is probably about 46% higher today. This is quite a big range. And a lot of that range is driven by manual cutting and then having to dispose of biomass. If you were to do the upper watershed to lower watershed strategy, you would have to deal with some of the most challenging to restore areas pretty early on. So, so a major challenge would be how do you reduce the costs in areas that are difficult to restore, but still serve as major sources of crop yields downstream. So there may be, with a larger scale, there might be some opportunities for different organizational strategies and improved technological approaches. For example, if you're going to do work across the whole watershed, then would it make sense to reach out to Caterpillar and ask them and have them create custom machinery that's more suited to the specific access requirements, regulatory requirements of the Santa Clara River watershed? That may end up at a certain scale, and that may end up being a very effective way of making the work easier to do. And then there's, of course, technological advancements in drone technology, in remote sensing, and so on, that could also help with early detection of reinvasion rather than waiting for it to spread, and making the work more expensive, especially for maintenance. Maybe there's given how much of a expense that biomass removal is, maybe there is a strategy where using forward operating bases, essentially temporary structures to dispose of biomass closer to where the restoration is happening rather than trucking it long distances. So that may also be a potential strategy, and we intend to explore that. So another one interesting thing is how do you address the workforce? When I was speaking with a Tree People colleague who's been working very heavily in restoration for a decade, I asked him, if we gave you $500 million tomorrow, what would how would you do the work? Like what would be the barriers for restoration? And his first thought is, well, I wouldn't even know what to do with that money. I don't there's not enough people to hire to do the work in the region. So even if he had $500 million to do this, it still wouldn't get him that far. And one of the challenges that there just simply are not a lot of workers available to do it. It's highly seasonal work. It's hard work. The compensation could be better. And because of seasonal labor, you have a lot of workers that work with contractors that will have to assemble a team very quickly. Sometimes sometimes the quality is variable. One season they might have a really experienced team. Another season they'll have a team that's not so great. And that ends up being a challenge for me keeping the work consistent year over year for effectively several decades, which is what will probably be required to complete the whole watershed. So definitely workforce challenge is something we are looking to address in this report. At least figure out what are some ways that other entities have successfully created a consistent and dedicated workforce to complete restoration work. Essentially, some of the ideas we currently have, which we're exploring, are is the seasonal contractor model fit for purpose for a watershed scale strategy rather than a site-based strategy? Would a more centralized workforce organizational structure be effective in the event through the JBA, where you have people who are hired and trained in a cross-functional manner? It's treated as career track work, not as a gig or a hustle or something where you just mow some weeds for a couple of months, and then make some money and then move on to something else. Because the work, there's a lot of planning, there's a lot of engagement, there's a lot of educational work that has to happen aside from the field work. So when there is a requirement to surge labor into the field seasonally, then you have to you may be able to shift people around to engagement on the off season, for example. So this is just something else we're thinking about. This is my final slide, and I know I'm a little over time, but I just this presentation has more questions than answers. I'm sure you've noticed. We're exploring various opportunities that exist to remove some of the obstacles other than scientific understanding of Arundo and other invasives. And this slide is a request. Please send us any information that you have about projects. If you have KML files to send, please. My email is at the bottom of the slide. We want to build a detailed database of projects that exists on this map. And if you have them in phases and treatments, and the more detail, the better. This is something that's really, really important for us to be able to source. And we know that a lot of data is not available on the internet. We have to reach out personally for it. So please send us any information you have. And then we would like to have conversations with you one-on-one. A lot of us are generalists. I'm an environmental engineer and hydrologist. My specialty is I do a lot of various work. Restoration is not is only a small part of it, and I have a pretty our team has a pretty good understanding of various aspects of workforce challenges and organizational challenges that relate to all sorts of environmental projects. But there are people in this room who have been doing this for 20, 30 years or more. So we want to talk to you. So if there's something in this presentation that you really want to add more information to, please reach out. We would love to learn more from you and get as complete of a compilation of information that we could present and analyze. So that's all for me. And thanks so much. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Lauren, are we going to be able to ask questions? I don't have the raised hand app. Sorry, I just wondered. I can wait. I just wondered if there's going to be questions we can ask Iggy.
Yeah, Holly, go for it.
Where to start, honestly. First of all, I just want to say thank you. Sorry, I'm trying to turn on. I'm in the field right now with dirty hands from restoration. So um yeah, thank you so much. That presentation was brilliant. Like you said, there are people here that have been working. I've been working quite a long time, and there are people working longer than me that I know know of here. Um, and so we know and understand what you were presenting. But the way you did it was so clear and inclusive in and the fact that we're all here and it's in this committee, which is just, getting going again. So the first thing off the top I want to ask, I thank you for inviting us to reach out to you individually. I'll definitely email you, but I feel like this is to Becca and Lauren as well, I guess. Could we just jump off with a working group based upon the slides already? Because there are all these questions. I mean, I know I personally have got a lot of things that, answers, to a point. For example, the workforce situation, we can bring you a ton of insight into that. I have to say the Department of Pesticide Regulation is incredibly supportive. I seem to say this every single time about the sustainable pest management plan that they have. So IPM will remain a part of that, but it's sustainable pest management that is the goal, and the three pillars are ecological, protecting our native healthy ecology, biodiversity, climate, all of that. Economic, how farmers need to be able to do what they need to do, growers need to be able to manage their work. And social justice. So speaking to the kind of, so I'll try not to go on too long, I'll follow up, but I really do, I would like to request that we have another meeting with anyone here who would like to be there to talk specifically about this, all the points that you made. Maybe we can meet in person and have one of those, workshop things, which the Montane Forest Conservation Strategy folks are meeting today as well. It's the same time frame. So, given that 90% at least of our watershed is in the forest, it would be good to hear more about if any of you guys aren't familiar about it. But that's a question for you, Iggy or Igor? Can I say Iggy?
Igor.
Igor, sorry, I wasn't sure. How much of work in the San Gabriel's like further up? I don't mean to go off on a tangent, just I'm curious. You guys with the upper watershed, are you kind of, I know tree people pretty well and your work in LA, but do you have just like a quick answer on headwater stuff?
I do not, but Amanda may be able to provide more on that.
Yeah, are you asking if we're working in the San Gabriel Valley too?
I guess so.
Yeah,
Well,
I
not
mean,
the valley. Well, yeah, all the mountains.
the majority of our work is focused in the Angeles National Forest and San Francisco Canyon and that Bouquet Canyon in that area of the Santa Clara River. We have recently expanded more into the Inland Empire, but nothing specific to share at this moment on that.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't mean to go on a tangent. Like I said, I've got a bunch of stuff, but um the you were talking about rapid response. So the county ag folks who I think are here, we're doing a project with them too. The CDFA have given a grant to the WMA, and we're part of that for 3 years. And there are three projects. There's a rapid response post-fire for Arundo, being able to treat Arundo post-fire. There's another one that Laura Pavlichuk's doing, and then we're doing one based upon rapid response of CDFA listed weeds. But within that, we've been able to encompass the early detection rapid response of a couple of really, really bad weeds that can spread easily and, anyway, all of it. I just think overall, I'm trying to say that what you have presented is a great structure for us all to be able to respond to. And I think doing it right away, we should not wait any longer. Like we've all been talking about this in the field. Some of us have found answers. There are grantors who have provided support and people who have provided endorsements. There are community members who show up to volunteer days and want to know more and care. There are obstacles about the workforce development things you were talking about that need to be, solved and understood, like you were saying. So yeah, I guess Lauren and Becca and Igor, if you're up for it, could we have like a working group extra meeting or something about it?
I would be more than happy to, Holly. Thank you so much for your kind words. But yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what we want. So yeah,
Yeah,
let's
I think
schedule.
that's great. We can pull together a couple of interested parties and organize a little work group meeting to just continue these conversations. I think that's a great point that's been brought up. And yeah, we're happy to follow through with that. Are there any last minute questions or comments? Yes, Candice.
One party that is not at the meeting today is the Nature Conservancy, and I highly recommend that they be at any follow-up working group because they actually initiated the task force around opportunistic around removal after fire. Laura Riga worked on that a lot many years ago, and they've also, they have many polygons to be added to the database. And I would just say, I think one of the reasons for the Ventura County Open Space Collaborative also is to address the ongoing operation and maintenance of restoration activities, which aren't oftentimes covered by grants. And so I think, that's also a way through that mechanism there's potential to maybe run a tax measure for open space management in the future that can also help with sustaining a workforce and sustaining maintenance and operation costs into the future. Because as land managers, we know that's like actually the biggest challenge. What's happened in Santa Barbara County is they have like over 58,000 acres. And at some point, like acquisition starts being hindered because of the constraints around managing land. And so before we get there, it's trying to mobilize what the funding sources are to collectively manage and do restoration on this kind of scale.
Great. Alyssa.
Hi, Candice and everyone. I just wanted to reassure that TNC is present. I was a little late to the meeting, so I do apologize. But yeah, totally agree that we should be involved in that working group that comes from this presentation. Thanks, Igor.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Last chance for comments or questions about this presentation. And in person, do we have something?
I'm gonna say something. So I'm Lisa. I'm a farmer along the river and a landowner, and I thank you for the presentation. I thought it was really interesting. I do have some comments about labor, specifically with ag and also the risk associated with having folks on your property and stuff like that. So but I really can't take on another group right now, but I am happy to have a conversation with you about some of the stuff that might be pertinent to agriculture. So feel free to discuss that with
Please.
me.
We would love to speak with farmers, and they're not the easiest people to access. So because they're always working in the field. So So absolutely. If you're open to it, I can get your email, maybe through Amanda or
I'll
someone
shoot
else.
you an email
Oh,
linking
okay,
it.
perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much.
Yeah, and actually, Lisa, while you're there, and Jody too, we're about to get a contract with DPR to we're doing field trips with the CSUs and community colleges on restoration, and then also we're going to be doing continuing education credit classes. So we want to find folks who have QAL, QACs and need QA, you know, or even if I would really love your feedback on anyone that might want to train up to get their QAC if they needed help. Then if we could, anyway, I know that's another conversation.
Well, every farmer who sprays, every farmer pretty much has to have that. So we have it. But if you want to have specific conversations, yeah, I'm happy to discuss how we can best connect people.
Yeah, I know you guys do. I was just just letting you know.
Oh, you mean additional folks?
Yeah. And also see if anyone if anyone needs CEs, you know, at any time they can do, but it will be not until 2027 or something that those are out.
Okay. I think that this is great. And did we have one last comment in person, Laura?
I was just going to say thank you. This is really interesting. And also, if they aren't already on your radar or list of potentially to reach out to, you might want to consider reaching out to organizations and I'm getting so much feedback. Sorry. Organizations in neighboring watersheds, in particular the Ventura watershed. I think there could be some interesting lessons learned or some advice as well from, I know Ojai Valley Land Conservancy right now is really making a large push for watershed-wide arundo removal there and individual property owner outreach programs. And so just building off of, you know, economies of scale and information, there might be some helpful insights that they have as well.
Great.
Since they are.
Thank you.
I've got one quick request. Nancy Settle. Yes, I'd just like to make sure that the Santa Clara River Conservancy is included in any follow-up meetings with Igor.
Great request. Thank you very much. Okay. Let's take a 8-minute break and we'll meet back here at 10:15 and we'll continue with the meeting. Great. Thank you all. Okay, we are back and better than ever. I'm going to share my screen and we will move towards our interactive session. As an update, the executive committee met a month or two ago, and we've been gathering some projects that are of priority to certain agencies, but as you could expect, that is a small populated, group. It's not exhaustive and or representative of the Santa Clara River watershed. And so we wanted to give the opportunity to have people input projects, essentially adding to a database that we're collecting. And we did form a small working group to go over the existing Excel sheet that we have. And one of the main requests from that working group was that we bring this information to this next meeting and open it up to the larger audience and see what we can populate. So I'll share my screen. Let's see.
All right. Thank you, Lauren, for providing that background and context. So the goal of this interactive session is to create a working archive of programs and projects that are ongoing in the Santa Clara River watershed, because we want to use this to guide the pursuit of group funding possibilities and to avoid duplicating efforts and questions. And so this archive will be a living repository that's accessible to committee members and the coordinators, so that, and with permission, approval from the committee, could be used to also produce public outreach materials so that the public also understands what projects and programs are ongoing within the watershed, and we can highlight projects that certain agencies want highlighted, et cetera. So if we can advance. So as Lauren mentioned, this is coming out of an ongoing effort to create this working archive. This was inspired by the Ventura River Watershed Coalition IRWM framework, where a MAP, which is an acronym for Master Archive of Projects and Programs, was developed as a first step prior to project prioritization. So this is just a repository of projects that are of priority to the people submitting them to this archive. They have not been prioritized by the committee in Santa Clara River yet, but that could be a next step. So we already have projects that have been shared by some members of the executive committee. And so we're calling this the preliminary project archive. For those of you in person, that's the printed copy with the text that is too small to read, but we'll put it up on the screen. So if we could open that link, Priority Project Archive link. Okay. The first thing we're going to do in these two back-to-back interactive sessions is to have you all take 5 minutes, read through that Google Sheet, and decide if you want to make a comment or ask a question about any of the projects outlined in that Google Sheet. And we're going to do that by the first column, which is currently labeled category and sort of broadly bins the projects that have been submitted. So if you're interested, I mean, I think the presentation by Tree People was a great segue into this conversation, for example, for our first category, which is restoration. And then we have several more as you move down by row. So we'll take some time to read. Yes, please. And then Lauren's going to go ahead and drop that into the chat. We do want to keep an eye on time because we have a second interactive session, which will involve some engagement as well that we think is really important. So I'll go ahead and give you all 5 minutes to take a read.
The link is in the chat for those joining online. Please open it and review this sheet.
Hey, Lauren, are we back?
We're back, Holly, and there's a link in the chat. If you open it up, you can review.
Yeah, we don't see the link.
Excel sheet. Okay, I'll
I don't
send
see
it
it.
again. Thank you.
And I just wanted to say thanks to United Water too. Like just from what we were saying before. I don't know. I don't mention those guys, but
Did that work?
Oh.
No link, unfortunately.
There it is.
Thank you, Alyssa.
I guess Igor can see but how some of what he was talking about is being in these categories and
Yeah, I think what's on the screen right now is not the same link that was provided, FYI.
yeah, the link should have has all the unsorted, the sorted tab that Lauren made from all the suggestions.
Yes.
And then
Yes, I see that, but
yeah,
thank you, Becca.
I dropped a new link in, which should open the matrix you're seeing shared on the screen.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for letting us know. So for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and just start polling by hand in person or via Zoom. Please use the raise hand option. If you don't have that option, please feel free to put into the chat, if you'd like to speak to any of these topics. But I'm going to go ahead and ask how many people want to comment or ask a question about the restoration projects? Please raise your hand. Okay. I'm seeing 0 in person and 0 in the Zoom screen. Okay. What about water management? So if anything popped up to you you want to clarify any of the projects that are in this matrix or make a comment that your group is already working on something related to this, but it's not in here, now would be the time. Thank you for asking.
These are much like individual projects or more like action strategy. Like, I mean, I guess it's kind of a mix, right?
Correct. So
there's like not less of a price area that partner really wants to price restoration.
We can't hear whoever's speaking.
I was just trying to clarify, understanding the list is not necessarily specific projects, but a bit more of a list of like the actions and priority, I guess, different activities. And it's just more of a mix, especially when it comes to restoration. There may be some specific locations, but it's more strategies, it looks like post-fire or ensuring permits, crews, and such.
I would say what a good kind of practice round would be is, say for restoration, we have key actions outlined here, and we know that some of this work is being done, or at least like en route. So I know that, so ideally, under status, if I were the Ventura County Resource Conservation District, I would say that under status, we're working with Tom Dudley and other partners to acquire a watershed-wide run-to removal permit, and explore, any funding options that might be available. I think that's where we're at in terms of seeking input on this, and it can look different for each category as well. But that's an example. And yeah.
So you probably want to add on this list now the Tree People effort towards mapping and prioritizing, and I guess I don't know what you call it. There's a lot of things rolled into that project.
Definitely.
Education to
And then just for, giving balanced representation, we obviously have a ton of people who can talk more about this restoration effort. So, are there other people that would be open to discussing another category here? Just bringing it open to conversation. Does any category stand out to people?
I just wanted to add on to Laura's sentiment. I totally agree with you. As I was reviewing this, it almost reminded me of the Ventura River Watershed Resilience Program, the implementation strategies list that was developed, where it's a broader list of goals, not necessarily implementation actions. And so as I'm reviewing this for the first time, just thinking to myself, like, there might be a really good opportunity for a working group, future conversations to develop these strategies into actual implementation actions. And I think that's the goal. That's where we're starting here. But I don't know how much more time you guys are dedicating to this, or I guess what are the next steps, and is this the only opportunity to workshop this? Okay, I was okay. It wasn't.
No, I think that's a great point. So let's move towards, so I'm just going to change it a little bit. I think what ideally we could do is focus on the lead or key partners section and flesh that out for people that are here, and that'll lead to potentially follow-up meetings. And then the second portion of this interactive session is, if you have not contributed to this list, we have a form where you can submit projects that can help inform this sheet, and that'll also let us know what kind of working groups could be formed past that, or what kind of partners should be in touch with each other. So I think that's a really great point, and I think that the lead key partners is an area that we can focus on for today. And I think for restoration, we did talk about it, and I feel comfortable informing that based off of the notes I took earlier. But I can, if there's any other comments on this section, please chime in for a couple.
I just have a question. Like, I actually own a property along the Todd Road Branca, and the property owners own the Branca in a lot of cases. And so they're going to be the ones that have to get the permits to do stuff like that. So you're definitely going to want those folks, that's just an example of that. But usually, and a lot of times we don't even know where the property lines are in the middle of those. So a lot of times it's multiple property owners on each side. So it's you have to get property owners on board with that.
Yeah, just to jump in on that, I'm sorry, I don't have the raise hand thing, and I just I wanted to respond to Lisa, because I think there's a lot of knowledge that there are these problems, like in the rapid response, treating Arundo post fire, an aspect of having those permits in place so that you can just metaphorically saying, hop a fence and just go in and treat. You'd have all those permissions would be in place. So that is part of the working groups, to-do list. And the thing with the restoration, I was thinking, Lauren, is just that we've talked about Arundel and Tamarisk, but you know, the Penacita, the fountain grass, you know, that stuff, you know, there is other weeds that are really, really dangerous for biodiversity and fire and all the other things. So I'm just wondering if we keep putting Arundel and Tamarisk all the time, is there like just another word, you know, and others, another high priority
It's
target
just
species?
invasive non-native species. And
Oh, I
I
thought
think
the
that
sub,
that just
yeah.
captures it all.
Yeah, so you mean changing that, Candice, from Arundel
Yeah.
and Tamarisk removal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would just, one of my comments here is like, these are people's pet projects. And I think it would also be worthwhile to look at what is legally required of people in the watershed, cities, counties, water districts, etc., so that we are also prioritizing legal requirements into the planning, and it's not just pet projects.
I agree completely. And this is exactly the conversation we were hoping to have after this review, because these are just the preliminary, this is the preliminary archive of the priority projects that have been submitted. So we want to engage you all in conversation about these projects, what people should or could be thinking of based on shared expertise across this committee. And then how can we avoid duplicating efforts when we see that there is a project submitted to the archive that someone else is already working on? And how can we connect those groups to bring these projects into action and push them along faster? So thank you for that. I do want to provide the option now, because I want to make sure that we kind of democratize commenting while saving time, to insert comments using the commenting feature in Google Sheets if you have any, and it'll track who is making what comment, so that the coordinators can look at this and consolidate it and bring it back to the group later. This is also something you can do at a later time, but we respect your time and you're here now. So Lauren will show how to do that for anyone who's unfamiliar. If you're doing it virtually, you could either right click in a cell and that'll open up an option. For example, if you specifically want to put something for status, go down to comment and you could type in what you'd like to say. And then for those of you working by hand in person, please jot your comments down and we'll collect your sheets if you don't mind putting your name on it. And then in just a few minutes, we'll move on to the next part of this session. Helen, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment and then ask a question. I'm having a hard time looking at this. I'm on my phone. I'm on the move, but I think I don't see anything on here, but correct me if I'm wrong, about the need to.
I think we lost you, Helen, at least audio wise.
I really think that is, it's a real severe, it's a real severe barrier, I think, to implementing some of these projects. And some of the materials that I've even become familiar with that have been used in restoration projects, are really harsh and restricted. Farmers don't even use them on their properties, but they are tools. And I'm just wondering what kind of public education is being done to explain that, use specific case studies on why this material is being used. I just think it's a real kind of I've been very surprised in talking to restoration and conservation biologists about what they are able to use for these type of projects. The other piece is, I know that there's a conversation around utilizing wildfires to piggyback on invasive plant suppression, but are controlled burns ever used? There's just, there's really cutting edge and exciting conversations throughout the state as around utilizing that as a tool again, not only for wildfire suppression and prevention, but potentially for removing invasive plants as well. But I don't know if the biology and supports that, if it is an effective tool or not. Those are just my 2 quick comments.
Thanks, Helen. I do want to I'll speak to that in just a second, but yeah, if people are comfortable using the chat, they can use the chat, but you can also utilize the commenting feature on Excel. Yeah, I mean, I think that the research is ongoing and preliminary, at least the type of research that we've done in Western science with treating invasive species with controlled fire. The RCDs worked with the UC Cooperative Extension and the Ojai Valley Land Conservancy to work on treating yellow star thistle with prescribed fire. And we based our methodology off of a research paper that it said if you treat the same plot of land 3 consecutive years in a row before the yellow star thistle is flowering, then you can reduce the seed bank. So that's what we're working on. And I definitely am interested in seeing how we can continue to use prescribed fire to treat landscapes. I think people often talk about arundo, and if we can use fire to treat arundo, and that's not happening yet. It's a very like volatile plant and sends off a huge ember cast. But other invasive species potentially, and our indigenous population has been stewarding the land for, thousands of years with fire. And now our landscapes, contain a lot of different invasive species. So naturally the outcome's different, but thanks for bringing that up, Helen. And I agree, I'm interested in continuing to pursue that work.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you all for participating in this portion of the session. We are going to move on to the portion of the session where we designed a survey based on this preliminary grid to survey you all on what projects you have ongoing, proposed, or newly funded in the watershed, so that we can create a working archive that is more inclusive of everyone, since this archive was created just from submissions by the executive committee. And moving forward, our plan is to make that information in the archive available to the committee so that we can have conversations at our meetings and otherwise regarding what's ongoing and how we can all collaborate, work together, not duplicate efforts, and pursue funding opportunities. So for those of you here, I will share the survey link with you. And then online, we can drop the survey link into the chat. We'll also follow up by emailing it again after the meeting. And we can try to upload it to the website as well, because we want to try to get a good read on what projects are happening so that we can take action to move forward with them. Perfect. So if you don't mind pulling up the survey too when you get a chance, that'd be great. So right now we have printed copies of it as well for those of you who don't have a computer. And I'll go ahead and hand those out. Perfect, thank you. So please also feel free to provide feedback on the questions we're asking in this survey too. Do you feel like any questions are missing? We want to try to avoid surveyor fatigue, but we also want to capture the information that we need to inform everyone here so that we can have productive conversations in these meetings. And then is there...
Peter, I saw in your comment in the chat asking if your comments were visible, and yes, we can see them.
Thank you.
I have a question or maybe a comment. I can't, on the paper copy, I can't tell if these are like drop down, but the category question, I just noted on the spreadsheet, it seems like there's a bit of lack of like water supply projects. There's one and it's listed as indirect potable reuse. I'd suggest that category should really just be the water supply, and indirect potable reuse is the subcategory, and Ventura Water Pure is a specific project. So just in general, I don't know if the survey has drop downs or if it's free, open.
Thank you
Okay.
for asking. It's
I just
open
wanna
because we wanted to try to capture more categories.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I would just agree with that. That was a great suggestion of how to kind of, because I was looking at the same category. I was thinking, how could we rearrange this? And that's a great way.
I think making a more general water supply and then moving indirect potable reuse as a subcategory or a action specifically.
I was wondering if it might be valuable to add another column to this spreadsheet, just denoting who submitted these actions, strategies. I think that would be valuable. And then also, like we mentioned before, adding if there's a regulatory driver behind it as well.
I'm trying to do way too many things at once. Like, I'll be honest, there's a survey in front of me and a spreadsheet. What am I supposed to be focusing on? Because the survey is extensive and I don't have the bandwidth to complete that right now. And I was trying to add to the spreadsheet. So,
Can add to this spreadsheet, Peter, if that's what you feel is the best use of
okay.
your time right now.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I would add that applies to anyone in this group. We just wanted to provide a time and space to work on this. If you're feeling like you want to focus on the Excel sheet, that's great. But now you know that this form is a resource that you can return to at any point. This is obviously the first time we're showing many of you this. But I tend to send surveys out and get no responses. This is just the nature of surveys. And so we're spending time getting familiar with them here today. Everyone knows now that they're a resource, and just spend your time as you wish.
Hi, there was a question in the chat about when the survey is due or if it has a deadline.
Thank you for asking. This is an ongoing effort. So we're sharing the survey today, and we know you're all quite busy. So we wanted to give people a few minutes to add maybe one project if they have the time during this meeting. But this is a resource that you can contribute to at any time.
Hi. I know this is a complex process. I know some people had some questions in chat that I just wanted to talk about. Somebody was saying, where's the functional link to the spreadsheet? And I believe that we're just supposed to leave a comment, right? Like you do a right click or whatever you're using a Mac and then leave a comment, right? You're not directly putting it onto the spreadsheet, correct?
That's correct, Elizabeth. Thank you for clarifying. So we're not editing the spreadsheet itself. We're asking to provide comments using the comment function in Google Sheets. So to do that, you'd click in the cell with the information that you want to comment on, right click.
Yeah, or
Yeah, and then select comment. And that will allow us to track your comments. And then once you've written what you want, click comment and it'll be saved without directly editing the document.
Yeah, great. I just saw that confusion and I was like, I just wanted to put that in there.
You guys, I don't have time for this right now. Can we move on? This is something that people need to do on their own time.
Okay, thank you for the feedback. I apologize. This was an attempt to get everyone talking here and thinking about these different projects, but I really appreciate knowing that this wasn't an effective approach. I think we can go ahead and wrap up the meeting just about 10 minutes early, and we could leave the floor open for any comments in these last 10 minutes for anyone who'd like to make them.
The governance and coordination section in the integrated One River governance, do you know who contributed that? Are they interim themselves in state? It was oh, okay. Yeah. Maybe I'll ask you a question.
What did I do? Who's that guy?
It doesn't have to be a group question. I was curious who contributed the governance and coordination item.
Oh, definitely.
Okay, we have time for clarifications on any category if anything stands out. People who've already submitted comments are here. So if there's just like any confusion, any suggestions, and great.
Lauren, can I just as a request, is, if you could send out via email the link to the spreadsheet and then the survey so we can all focus on that. Because I was looking at the executive committee email and I think it's a different spreadsheet, really similar, but it had some information that this one doesn't have.
There wasn't. Yeah. Right.
Thank you for asking that, Debbie, because I think I've been working at different spreadsheets at different times, so.
Perfect. Okay.
So off the spreadsheet, I just wanted to highlight with folks that Coastal Cleanup Day is on September 19th, and Friends is trying to initiate a inland site at Piru, and we're working with the neighborhood council. That was just something I forgot out of my update.
Yeah, just before we wrap up, I wanted to make a general comment, and it's kind of an advertisement for my partners over at the county. So the Ventura County Public Works Watershed Protection District is currently hiring for a manager of their groundwater section. So if anybody listening is interested, or you know anybody who may be interested, please look into that. It's advertised on the regular way the county advertises, or if that's too confusing, just get in contact with me. I'll send you the link. Thank you.
No, or the county, not
This is Ben Fischetti with Watershed Protection. Nice plug, John. I just was going to ask for some clarification. The district has several very large scale projects that are focused on flood protection, and I was curious if that would be a good category on its own. And I could So just clarification on that.
Absolutely. Yeah, we could, flood protection as a category would be great to add.
I also had a quick question. Um, for when it says restoration and then there's a habitat and connectivity, is the is that a restoration of habitat, improving habitat? Um, can you get some clarification on that for the spreadsheet?
Can I answer?
Thank you.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry, go for it. Mhm.
It's broad right now.
Okay.
These are suggested categorical bins from the executive committee. So we are keeping things very open right now and collecting data in a way that will inform how we might structure the categories later on.
Yeah, I'm
As a
just trying to make I'm just trying to make sure where I put the comment is relevant to
Oh,
the bin. I don't want to put it somewhere you're like, that's where that spot was supposed to be. That's all.
thank you. Did that answer your question?
It's a broad thing, so I guess it will just be sorted later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
I lost my comments.
Can
I'm
can
sorry.
we add like a policy one, just so that we can also capture some policies that would help the restoration actions?
There are any more burning comments, clarifications? This is a very preliminary process, so I appreciate you all being here and contributing. Um, it will be a light lift for us to go through the data, but it's no problem. And we'll send the proper links in the newsletter after this meeting. So now that you all are aware of what these are, it might just be easier, more incentive that this is a resource that you can fill out. And yeah, do you want to add any last minute next steps? Okay. I do think that just to keep everyone informed, we are also going to have partner meetings to introduce the coordinator, Becca Reynolds, to different agencies, organizations that participate in the Santa Clara River watershed. And we can also talk about this resource one-on-one with you folks. And for now, if you are wanting to jump off, you can. We'll adjourn this meeting, and our next general Santa Clara River Watershed Committee meeting is August 27th. And please save the date. And if you are participating in the executive committee, we're just going to go over a brief check-in right after this meeting in just a couple of minutes. So as for our general committee members, please feel free to hop off, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for the time. Looking forward to talking more.
Oh, thank you, Iger.
Yeah. Open to you if you want to stay or go. It will end in just a couple of minutes. So if you want to chat, we can chat afterwards, everyone. I have to talk on Zoom still because we have people online. Okay, thank you guys all so much for coming to this last meeting. I know that they can be long. I'm going to